There is a new documentary out on Netflix right now about Conor McGregor, and it is called McGregor Forever. I just finished it. It's a 4-part series, and I have some thoughts. Just as a disclaimer, something you should know about me going in is that I am a sucker for a sports documentary. It could be a behind-the-scenes look at the Badminton World Championships, and I totally watch it. So let me know in the comments if that documentary exists, and I will watch it. It's hard for me not to like a sports doc, so I'll say up front that I did enjoy watching this, but I also had some gripes with it. With Conor McGregor, I think the idea of a documentary like this and the concept behind it is great. You've got the most mainstream, biggest star in MMA with a 4-part series on Netflix. This will bring in more fans to the sport. People who don't usually watch MMA will probably watch this documentary, and that will lead to more fans of MMA. So from that standpoint, this is definitely a net positive, but that doesn't mean that I don't have issues with this, and I'll get to those in a minute. If you haven't seen it or you don't plan to, let me give you a quick breakdown. It starts immediately after Conor breaks his leg in the third Poirier fight, and then we get a lot of flashbacks sort of laying the groundwork of who Conor is and how he rose to fame and to success. Basically telling the Conor story that every UFC fan already knows, but they have to include that in this for people who aren't UFC fans and don't know anything about Conor McGregor. But after that exposition period, we pick up the story in the build-up to the Khabib fight. We see the fight itself, and we see the aftermath of that. And then we're with him up and through the third fight with Dustin and the leg break and immediately after. One of the pieces of the story that I thought was actually really cool to see was immediately after the Khabib fight in the locker room. These are the moments where I think we see Conor's true personality. Even though he obviously knows there's a camera in the room with him, you just kind of get this sense that his guard is down a bit, and you see his true reactions and his true self, or at least as close to it as we ever will see. I think there are basically 3 versions of his personality that we usually see. There's press conference Conor, where he knows he's there to put on a performance and to hit us with one-liners. It's his character and exaggeration of himself. And then there's interview Conor, the Conor that's a notch down from press conference Conor, that's still there to entertain but is less brash, I guess you could say, less over the top. I still wouldn't say it's his true self. It's still a front to an extent, but it's closer to the real article. Then there's the usual behind the scenes Conor, where he knows there's a camera there. He knows a documentary is being filmed about him, and he's probably as close to his real personality as you will see in most cases. He's still confident and braggadocious, I think that's a word, but the way he's speaking is more like a real human being who isn't a character in an interview or at a press conference. But in this locker room stuff after the Khabib fight, we see him outside of all of those molds, almost like he forgot he was being filmed. You see some actual raw emotion from him, and I will give him credit. He takes the loss to Khabib much better than I would have thought that he did. To me, it's these humanizing moments throughout the 4-episode series that are most compelling. We also see Conor doing his community service after the bus incident, and again, it seems like he's having a genuine experience, and doing the community service is actually affecting him and making him reevaluate things, and you want to start to root for him and you want to be a fan of his. And if I was someone who this was my first introduction to Conor McGregor, I probably would be a fan if I didn't know about punching the old guy, or the multiple allegations of sexual assault, or the things that he's done in his personal life, which they completely ignore and don't mention at all, by the way, in this. I would want to see him succeed and cheer for him if I didn't know about all of those things, but I do. And I think this is where I have issues with this documentary. You have to watch this keeping in the back of your mind that it's basically like a commercial for Conor McGregor. We'll show enough of the bad stuff so you see he's not just a one-dimensional character, but not so much of the bad stuff that you as the viewer can't root for him. I'm skipping ahead narratively and chronologically, but after the leg break in the third Poirier fight, you hear Owen Roddy, his striking coach, doing a voiceover talking about how everything was taken from Conor in that moment, all the hard work and the sacrifice, and that boiled over into anger. A fair assessment, I would say, and it's not Owen Roddy's fault at all, but rather than the documentary showing Conor screaming to Dustin, "You're dead, you and your missus," and being completely unhinged, they just show Conor yelling how he doesn't want the fight to be ruled a knockout or something. He wants it to be a doctor stoppage. But that is not at all what Owen Roddy was referencing, and they just omit that really terrible stuff. They kept in the anger, but not the actual bad stuff. And like I said, there's no mention of any of the sexual assault allegations at all, which feels deliberate. Innocent until proven guilty, obviously, but with numerous allegations, it feels like a layup to, in your own documentary, say something like, these are false allegations, but when you're rich and famous, blah, 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 blah. But they don't even do that lip service. It feels like these allegations are intentionally being hidden, and things intentionally being hidden don't make you look innocent or like the victim of false allegations. But again, the documentary wants you to like him. There was a scene where Conor is getting ready to go leave for one of his fights, and his oldest kid is sad that he's going. Not in a sad, like, please don't get hurt in your fight kind of way, but in the same way that everyone's kids are sad when their parents have to leave for work. They just want you to stay home with them, and you can see in that moment, it affects him in the same way. Every parent is affected by that, and he doesn't want to leave his kid. I think that's something that in general fans forget, that fighters are just people with a really cool job. They have kids and they want their kids to be happy. They don't like when their kids are sad, and they don't want to leave if they don't have to. These are complex people with complex lives, and you as the fan only see them on your screen for like a half hour at a time. And there are a few scenes like that with Conor in this documentary and with his kids, and I want to believe he's a good dad who loves his family, and he seems like it in this. But again, it's Conor McGregor. I can't watch this as a person who doesn't know the other part of the story that was left out. I can't watch this and pretend the 3 Conor personalities that I just talked about don't exist, because they do. He is very good at turning on a different personality when he knows the camera is there. I hate that I have to think that Conor says to himself, okay, camera's here, time for dad mode. But because of who Conor has been in the public eye for a decade, it makes you wonder in ways you wouldn't wonder if this documentary was about Dustin Poirier or Max Holloway or Daniel Cormier. The documentary includes a lot of good training footage, and there's a lot that you get to see from his training camps and his approach to each of his fights since the Khabib fight. And I won't dive super into all of that to just ruin the whole thing for you, because I do think you should watch this series. It's an entertaining watch, and it is very well produced. But when you watch, just remember all of the things that didn't make the cut and why. Just remember you are watching something that wants to frame the subject in a positive way and sometimes sacrifices the whole truth in order to make that happen. Let me know in the comments what you thought of McGregor Forever, because I am curious if opinions agree with me or if they do not. I appreciate you watching this, and if you're still watching all the way at the end, why not do me a favor and hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I will see you all in the next one.